and welcome. Today I am going to play Zealand 1985, game released in the Third World War system by a Polish company TIS. It is a game about hypothetical Polish invasion on Denmark during the Cold War. Actually, Denmark was one of the primal targets of the Polish army during the Cold War. You may ask why Denmark? Well, the reason was pretty interesting. Soviet High Command wasn't certain how the Polish soldiers would react if they would have to fight against American or English units. There was a fear that Polish units might surrender too easily or even switch side, which was unacceptable for the Soviet commanders. So that's why they decided to move Polish units towards Nordhak, where mostly German and Scandinavian units were placed. They were pretty certain that Polish soldiers will have no problems fighting against the Germans mostly, well, you may guess why. And then, as for Scandinavians, well, there wasn't any sentiment when it comes to Poles and Danes. So, there were two Polish big units that were trained to take care of the Zealand. It was 6th Airborne Division and 7th Landing Division. These two units were trained to make their attack on Denmark for the most time of the Cold War era. Luckily, none of them had even make it. But in this game, you may check what would happen. The fact was that Polish units weren't very well trained, and their equipment, especially in the 80s, was already obsolete. So, some specialists say that this was a suicidal operation. And in fact, it was very hard. 6th Airborne Division, which was called the division, was actually a little bit stronger than a regular brigade. 7th Landing Division was stronger, but it was equipped with quite a bit old tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, which were prepared for perform landing operations. But these vehicles were already a bit old and very used because of the intensive trainings. So this division wasn't very effective in 1985 either. And in fact, right after 1989, this division was disbanded. So that was the plan, and there was one more Polish division, which was 15th Mechanized Division, that was kept in reserve, and it was meant to be used in the second wave of attack. To make Polish attack easier, Soviets decided to perform a couple of nuclear attacks on Zealand, and there was about 5 of them for the Polish units to choose targets. Of course, it would turn the whole Zealand into one big atomic wasteland, and Polish soldiers who would fight there would be probably dead as well, because after some few days combat in the area where several nuclear bombs were exploded, there was a little chance that none of them will get some serious disease and become a victim of the nuclear radiation as well. So that was such fact of the Cold War getting hot. Luckily, this operation never happened, but in this game you may see what would happen if the Polish would try to make such a risky landing. So, there are three scenarios in this game, and here we have a setup for the third scenario. Actually, the second and the third scenarios are very the same, but there is one major difference. In the second scenario, Polish units are making their assault normally. In the third scenario, they are making their assault as well, but this time they have nukes to use. And I'm going to play this scenario with the nukes, because I think it makes it much more interesting, but probably also a bit more dramatic and heavy for Danes. You may want to look at our battlefield. Here is the majority of the board and the place where we are going to fight. Danes have a couple of their brigades all over the Zealand, and Polish airborne units are landing here, while Polish sea landing units are coming from there. They may look pretty strong, but the problem is that before they will make it, they have to undergo several rolls for their possible losses because of the enemy air force, enemy missiles, etc., etc. So, we are starting a game, and a Polish player has 4 nuclear bombs to use. And how they work. Polish player chooses hex, and all the enemy units on this hex are instantly destroyed. As for the units on the adjacent hexes, we have to make a roll to see what happened to them. So, where I'm going to use? I think I will make one here, I will make one there, one here, and one more here or there. I think here. So these are my targets, and now I have to make rolls to see what happened to them. First of all these two units are instantly destroyed because of the nuclear attack, so we are removing them. Now this unit is destroyed because of the nuclear attack, and for this unit, which is artillery, we have to make a roll to see what happened to this unit, and 5, it is unit destroyed. So this one unit is destroyed as well. And now here. First, this artillery is being destroyed. And now for these 2 units. First for the infantry. 1, it survived. And now for these tanks, 4, they suffer 1 step loss. Finally, here. This tank company is destroyed, and now for these 3 units I have to make a roll. First for this mechanized, it survived. Now for the infantry, 5, it is destroyed. And now for this artillery, 5, it is destroyed. Okay, so we were quite lucky now. And that's all. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I forget about something? Nope. That's all. So we made it, and now you can see that we marked all of these all of these hexes, and now anytime a unit moves during this hex or any adjacent hexes to this hex, we have to make a roll, and there is a chance for the unit to suffer a step loss or being stopped. So this is pretty important. That's why I nuked these 2 bridges, because it will stop some of the Denmark units to coming from here. Okay, that was my nuclear attack, and the next thing I have to do in the turn 1 and in the other in all the next turns is to play air superiority phase. In this phase we have to check who's going to have air superiority. And in this scenario, in the first turn, Polish player has 7 points of his air force, which is marked here, and Denmark player has 2 points, as you can see in the upper left corner. So I have to make a roll for each side and add all these points. So let's assume white for Danes, red for Poles. So it is 6 against 9. So Poles are victorious. So Polish player has air superiority, and this is very important because when we have air superiority in the turn 1, there is a smaller chance for the losses for our airborne units. And now I have to make a roll for Polish player for his air losses. There is 4. 4 means that Polish player lost 3 points of his air force, so he had 7, now he has 4. And these 4 points he is free to use during this turn to perform any air support during his combat. Now, these are all the things we have to do during our air phase, because I'm not going to use my air force to perform any attacks on the enemy units. Instead, I will use it to support my attacks. And now I have to make a rolls for my landing units, because the next phase is a Polish movement phase. So first of all, I will make rolls for all these airborne units. They are landing on these hexes, and there should be 1 or 2 rolls for each of them. If Polish player has an air advantage, he has to make only 1 roll for the enemy, for the NATO anti-air artillery, or if there is NATO air advantage, then he has to make a roll for NATO air attacks. But he doesn't care about NATO air attacks, so we have to make a roll for NATO flag. So let's make a roll, and now it is, if I roll 1 or 2, no effect. If 3 or 4, 1 step loss, and if 5 or 6, 2 step losses. So let's start with him. Oh, 5 or 6, he's gone. Here, no losses. Now here, 1 step loss. Now here, 1 step loss. Here, no losses. Here, 1 step loss. Here, 2 step losses. And here, no loss. And for the headquarter, it is eliminated. So we lost 2 battalions and headquarter of our 6th Airborne Division, and you can see that our battalions are already damaged. And now I have to make a rolls for my units that are landing from the sea. I have 2 groups, each loaded into separate group of landing ships, and I have to make a roll for each of this group. So there is a couple of rolls I have to do, and first is for sea mines. First for this group, 1, no losses, and for this group, no losses. That's good. Next for the harpoons, and I think I should skip this actually, because harpoons were installed on Zealand, but 2 years before, 2 years after this game takes place, because this game takes place in 1985, and harpoons were installed at Zealand, I believe, at 1987. So I shouldn't use this. I shouldn't make this roll. So next roll is made for the enemy, for the NATO air attacks, but we gained air advantage, so NATO can't make air attacks. And final roll is for NATO naval attacks. So for this group, 1, no losses, and for this group, 2, no losses. Amazing! Okay, so we were extremely lucky when it comes to these groups, because none of them suffered any losses, and because of this they might make their landing safety. Well, our airborne units weren't that lucky. We can move our Polish units, and since all of them are making their land during this phase, they can move only with their half of their movement points only. So they have 2 movement points. So this is 1 and 2. 1. There is a woods here. You can tell that some hexes are marked with this green dot. These hexes are wood hexes. If there is a hex without this green dot, this hex is not considered a wood hex. So this is pretty important to check for this, to make sure how many movement points you will spend, and what kind of modifier this hex provides. So you have to spend 2 movement points to enter wood hexes. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, that's all for my airborne units, and now for my landing units. They can land on the beaches only, so they are landing here and they have 7 movement points, so 3.5 actually now. 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. 1, sorry, they are landing, so 1, 2, 3, 3.5. It is 1, 2, 3, and that's where they stop. This headquarter goes here. Now this battalion goes here to provide cover for this headquarter, and now these two, they are landing on this hex, so this is 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So I can remove these ships now, and that's for the Polish movement. And now I can perform any attacks. You can see that none of the enemy units are in my zone of controls, so I don't have any opportunity to make an attack against Denmark units, but I still have 4 points of my AO units, so I can use them for attacks against the enemy, or I might keep them if Danes will try to attack any of my units, and then they will be used to support my defense. So I think I will keep them. This might sound better. If Danes will try to attack me, I will be able to strengthen my defense. So that's all. There are no combat in this phase because Poles have no enemy units in the zone of controls. So now we are going to check for Danes. And there is one more thing I should mention. Normally in this system there is also a supply phase that comes after enemy after combat phase, but it is mentioned in the scenario that in these scenarios we have to skip supply phase. Supply stuff is not used in this particular scenario. So that's all. It's time for Danes to move. And what are they going to do? They suffered some heavy losses because of the Polish nuclear attacks, so they have to use what they have. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, now they can move through this hex, but it would make them force them to make a roll. 1, I think this means that they are safe, but I will have to check to make sure about it. 1, yeah, this is no effect, so they are fine. So it is 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now them, and well, they will stay here. They will stay here, and now here. I think that it would make sense to get some of my units from this part of the island. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, 3, 4, let me check, this is motorized unit, and yes, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Motorized units have to spend 2 movement points for moving through the open ground. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm gathering my Denmark units, and now this part. Now what do I have here? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this Denmark artillery. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's all when it comes to Denmark movement. And now we can check for Danish attacks. So I will start here. I have 3, 6, 8 against 1. So it would be 8 to 1. Polish player decides to call for air support. So he has 4 air points. So he spends 2 of them. And now, when you use your air points in defense, you have to halve their strength. So I am using 2. This means that I get 1. So it is 8 against 2 now. So it is 4 to 1. And they are defending in the town, so it is 3 to 1. Now we have to make a roll. Oh, it is 11. 11 in the 3 to 1. Let's check for the combat table. It is -1, -1. So each side suffers 1 step loss. And, and this is pretty interesting. First of all, you can see that these units have stars. You don't get a modifier for the star when you are fighting against enemy leg unit. So they didn't get their star modifiers for the stars. But when you are using your unit with a star in combat, and you have to suffer a loss, the first unit that has to suffer any loss, this should be a unit with a star. So this unit suffers 1 step loss, and this Polish battalion is eliminated. So Danes can take this town. Now, do we have any other attacks? Yes, actually we have. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 10 and 12, 14. It's 14 against 4. I will use my other 2 air points, so I have also 1, so it's 5, so it's 14 against 5. So it is 3 to 1, and now it is 3 to 1 and 2 to 1 because this is a town. So it is 2 to 1, it is 7, 7 in the 2 to 1 is B1. So defender has to retreat 1 hex, and the Danes are recapturing this town. Okay, so it wasn't bad for Danes actually, since they pushed Poles back for a while. Well, I said this was very risky and some say that it was a suicidal operation for Poles, but don't you worry, you may say that Poles are already doomed. It might look like this, yeah, but there are more Polish units on the way, and there is also a chance to use USSR units and Communist German units. So this is it was just the turn 1 of the game. We have some more turns to go. Okay, we are starting turn 2, and like I said before, there are more Polish units on the way. These are 2 regiments from 15 Mechanized Division, but well, they have to reach the target, the Zeeland first. So we are starting with air phase, and in this turn Polish player has 5 air points and NATO player has 2 air points. So let's make a roll. White for Danes. So 6 against 6 against 7. So that was close, but even so Poles are victorious. This is pretty important because we have new Polish units coming, and if they wouldn't be there and if there wouldn't be a Polish air advantage, then they would be attacked by the NATO air force as well. So let's make for them for the possible losses first. And now this is something interesting here. I think I forgot about to mention this before when it comes to these units, and because Polish landing units have 4 steps in this game. Each of them has, most of them, some are not, but most of them has 4 steps. This means that we have units with their full strength. Now unit which is weakened, and if unit suffers a loss during 2 losses during the landing operation, but not during the combat, but only if during the landing operation, it might be. Sorry, I need to find. Yes, this is, where it is. Oh, it might be replaced with the same counter, but with its weakened stats. But this works for the landing operation only. When this unit would land like that and would suffer 2 losses, it would be eliminated. It wouldn't be replaced with the weakened counter. This works for the landing operation only. Okay, so now we have to roll for these 2 stacks. First for them, there is, let me check, there is a roll for minefields. 5. Oh no, this means that they are suffering 2-step losses. And next roll is made for naval attacks. 1, no losses, great. So for this stack next. Minefields, 1 loss. And naval attacks, 5, 2 losses. Okay, so you can see that it doesn't went quite smoothly as we did in the turn 1 when our naval units made their land quite safely. So this time we suffered some losses, but so far they are going to reach the Zeeland, which is good as well. And now let's try to move. So these Polish units will fortify themselves here because they expect some Danish attack coming from here, and now they are moving to these woods. They are going to fortify in this town because you get some additional modifier for the defense when you are fortified in the town, and this landing regiment will move 1, 2, like that. Okay, now these units. A unit that was forced to retreat in the previous turn cannot fortify itself, so this is pretty bad. And now what I'm going to do, I will try to attack here, or maybe not. They are in the town, so let them fortify themselves. And I will send this tank battalion to support them. These 2 units are going to fortify themselves as well to hold this area, and I just have to hold my positions till more reinforcements will arrive and I will be able to make my progress. Otherwise Polish units will be doomed for sure. So now these units are landing from this hex. So 1, 2, 3 and 3.5, because they are landing, so they have to use only half of their movement points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry, 4.5, so they can reach here. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. Okay, that's where they went. And now these 2, this group, so it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. They will also go here, and they will move here to be in my reserve. So we made a land. We have more Polish units now on the board. And now, do we have any attacks? I think no. Polish units are not not attacking. Well, I think I should try, but for now I'm going to strengthen my defense and wait for the more reinforcements coming. And I have 5 air points that I might use, but again I'm going to keep them for my defense. Well, maybe I should use one of these points. I will attack this artillery with this single air point. And where do I have my other dial? So let's make a roll to see what happened. 9, I think this is a miss, but let me check. Yeah, when I'm attacking with only 1 point, I need 2 or 12 to score a hit. So this was a miss, so Poles have only 4 points now. So that's all for the Polish units. Let's go to Danes. Okay, what the Danes are going to do? Now they will try to continue their attack. They will try to take this town back. Here I will fortify them, their units, and this artillery moves here. This should be fine. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3. These 2 battalions will remain in reserve. They are pretty weak after all. And now here, Polish units are stronger and their defensive positions are better, but I will try to attack eventually. These tanks will fortify themselves. And now here the Danish units are strong, but well, there is a couple of roof terrain hexes, so I will try to attack anyway. Let me check how many movement points I have to for the mechanized units for moving through the woods. So it would be 3, 6, and 7. So that's all for these tanks. this infantry. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So that's for Danes. And now let's check for the Danish attacks. I will start here. So I have 2, 5 and 7, and I will call for artillery support from this hex. 7 plus 4, it is 11. 11 against 3. 11 against 3, and Polish player calls for his air support. He's using 2 points, so he gets 1. So it was 6, 8, 10 and 13. 13 against 3 plus 1, 4. So it is 3 to 1, 2 to 1 because of the fortification. So it is 2 to 1, and 7. 7 in the 2 to 1, it is B1. So defender has to retreat 1 hex. So they are moving like that. Then Danes are taking this hex. Next attack goes here. I have 6, and I will use this artillery. So I have, sorry, I used it here, so I can't. So it's 6, and I will call for this artillery support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yes, so I can use it. So it's 6 plus 4, so it's 10. 10 against 7 against 4 is 2 to 1. And now it is 1 to 1 because of the fortification, and 1 to 2 because of the Polish headquarter. So it is 1 to 2, and 8. No, this doesn't sound good. 1 to 2, it is A1. So attacker has to retreat 1 hex. And now here, 2, 4, 6, 6, 8, 10 and 12. 12 against 3, and Polish player uses his additional 2 air points to get +1. So this is 12 against 4 now, so it's 3 to 1, 2 to 1 because of the headquarter, 1 to 1 because of the fortification, 1 to 2 because of the fortification in the town, and 1 to 3 because of the town. That's why I said this is very good to build your fortifications in the towns. 7 in the 1 to 3, it is A1 again. So Danes have to retreat 1 hex. Okay, so Poles made it. You can see that they are getting stronger. And you can imagine what would happen if there would be no these nuclear attacks. And then Danes would be much more stronger, and they would also gain support from their headquarter, which was there. This would be a very much harder battle for Poles. So that's why these nuclear attacks were very important. So that's all for the Denmark attacks. Yeah, that's all. So this concludes turn 2. Alright, we are starting with turn 3. First of all, we have air phase, and this time this might be a bit different because Polish player has 4 air points and NATO player has 3 air points, so this is only 1 point difference. So now let's make a roll, and you can see that not NATO is victorious this time, so Polish player is not allowed to use his air points, and NATO gains air advantage. First of all, we have to make rolls for these units. These are further units of the 15 Mechanized Brigade that are coming to help their pals, but this time we will also have to roll for NATO air attacks onto these landing groups. So this might be definitely harder for Poles to land. So let's make a rolls first for this group and this group. Sorry. First for minefields. 3, 1 loss. And for the second group, 1 no losses. First for the air attacks. Sorry, second for the air attacks. 1 loss. And for this group, 1 loss. And finally for naval attacks, for this group, wow, 2 losses. So these tanks are weakened and I have to suffer yet another loss. Let me find... Do I have a... yes, actually I forgot about one unit, one more unit, so yes, it suffers a loss. Okay, I was and now for them 5 2 losses. Oh my, this is going to hurt. So this artillery is no more and these tanks are replaced. Let me check. Oh, I want to replace them, but do I want to? Yes, I can do it. Okay, so that's all. So you can see they are going to be definitely weaker. And now we can make a move with Poles. So I need to move and to do something, otherwise Danes will just keep me here and I won't be able to gain much of the victory points. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's all. They are moving like that, and that's for this part of the front. Now here, these Polish tanks will make their attack here, and I will send this unit to help them. And now six, so this could be a hard thing to do. I would like to take this town, but there are these tanks, so nope, I can send them. I will send this group 1, 2, 3, 4, hoping it will be enough. Now they are going to fortify themselves here. And these tanks will go and support this attack. Okay, and maybe even here. 1, 2, 3. I will make more attacks, so Danes will be engaged at many directions and it will be hard for them to launch any serious counterattacks. Okay, now I can land my units. So, they are landing on this hex. This is artillery, so it starts in the movement chic. So it is 1. Sorry, they have a half of movement points because they landed. So they have 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3 and half. Same goes to the headquarter. It moves like that, and now this group 1, 2, 3 and half. They move here 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's for my movement. And now let's go to the combat. I will start here. I have a 6 against 3, so it's 2 to 1, 3 to 1 because of hit quarter, and 2 to 1 because of the woods. So it's... Let me check. As for woods, yes, it is +1 for woods. So it was 2 to 1. And since I have tanks here, it is 1 to 1, because enemy has a star. So it is 1 to 1. Where do I put another die? I have only one, but I need two. Hell. Okay, let's just make it. It is 7. 7 in the 1 to 1 is -1, -1. So each side suffers 1 step loss. But the Danes are not retreating, while Poles are holding this town. Now here, 4, 6 and 10. It is 10 against 2. And I will call this for this artillery support. I will mark it. So it is 10 against 3 now. So it is 3 to 1. They are attacking in the open ground, so we got no modifiers, so it's 3 to 1. And 7. 7 in the 3 to 1. B2. So defender has to retreat 2 hexes and has to undergo a morale check. 7, they are fine. Now here, I have 3 against 1, so it's 3 to 1. And the Danes are sending 2 of their air points. So this is 3 to 2. So it is 1 to 1. And 1 to 2 because it is wood. So it is 1 to 2. Oh, sorry. It is 7. 7 in the 1 to 2, I believe this is no good. This is A1. So attacker has to retreat 1 hex. Next here, 6 against 2. It is 3 to 1, 2 to 1 because of the fortification, 1 to 1 because of the woods. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they are in the range, so it's so they have hit quarter support, so it was 3 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1, and 2 to 1 because of the hit quarter. So 2 to 1 and 7 B1. Now here 5, 11, 14 against 5, and they are calling for artillery support here. So it is 7, so it's 40 against 7, so it's 2 to 1, 3 to 1 because of the hit quarter, 2 to 1 because of the star, and yes, 2 to 1. There is no terrain modifier, so it's 2 to 1 and 8 B1. And now all the hexes are in enemy zone of control, so they can stay where they are, but they have to suffer 1 step loss. Okay. So that's all for Polish attacks? I believe it is. So Poles are expanding a bit. They made some progress, but their progress is slow, limited by the resistance of the Denmark's army. So this is not going very this is not some kind of quick and devastating invasion. Okay, that's all for Poles. Let's go for Danes. What are they going to do? They had to retreat, so they cannot stay here. They are moving here. They are, well, they are surrounded, and you cannot move in the enemy zones of control, so they will fortify themselves and them as well. Now here, I will fortify this tank because it is in the woods, and this infantry battalion. This battalion moves here, and this one will stay here. It doesn't want to move here because, as you remember, all the hexes around the nuclear hit are dangerous for our units. I will try to counterattack here. These tanks cannot attack this Poles. Well, I mean they can, but they this could be a suicidal attack. So 1, 2, and now here. I will try my luck attacking here and there. Alright, so that's all for Danes, and time for their attacks. 6 against 4, it is 1 to 1. It is 1 to 1. 2 to 1, 3 to 1 because of the stars. 2 to 1 because of the woods, and 1 to 2 because 1 to 1 because of the Polish headquarters. So it is 1 to 1 and 7. So each side suffers 1 step loss. And now here I have 5, 7, 11, 13 against 3. It was 13 against 3, so it is 4 to 1. 4 to 1, 3 to 1, 2 to 1 for fortification in the building, 1 to 1 in the buildings, 1 to 1 for the town, and 1 to 2 for the headquarters. 7 in the 1 to 2, it is A1. So attacker has to withdraw. And now here. Oh, I moved my artillery. So let artillery stay here. So it is 4 against 3. So it is 1 to 1. 1 to 2 because of the fortification. 1 to 3 because of the woods. And 1 to 5 because of the headquarters. So it's 1. So it's 1 to 5, and we can get that 1 to 4 is the minimum odds, and 6 it is A1 minus 1. So attacker has to retreat and suffer 1 step loss. Okay, so that's all for the Danish attacks. Well, the battle goes fiercely. Neither side gets advantage so far. Danes are defending and counter-attacking wherever they can. Poles are trying to destroy as many Danish forces and to break from this bulge they made here. We will see if they can make it, since it was turn 3, so we have only 3 turns for Poles to win this battle. Like I said, it was not an easy thing to do. Some said it was a suicidal operation, but we will see. So this is the end of turn 3, and I think this is a good moment to call it a day for this part of the video. I will return soon with the second part of the Zealand 1985 playthrough. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.